It is the Wednesday Sports Cage. Like he said, it's for the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation 50-50. This will be the last one, I think, for the year. And that early bird prize, you got till tomorrow at 5 p.m. to get in on the San Francisco 49ers LA Rams football game, December 12th. Flights, accommodations, transfers, the whole shooting match, or you can just take $9,000 cash. You got to get in at riders5050.ca before tomorrow at 5 p.m. 3 hours of sports talk here with you. We have Ryder Audio. We got Dave Thomas coming in. What happened at practice today? What is up with our beloved Riders as they get set to head to Winnipeg? We're going to talk Hardy Cup. The Rams and the Huskies go at it Saturday. We got that covered with some of the current riders. And then we have one of the all-time legends when it comes to football coaches in the province, Frank McCrystal, joining us in Hour 2. Eric Francis, also in Hour 2, talking NHL hockey. Big news, Connor McDavid is back tonight. You Oiler fans are jacked for that. Hour 3, we're joined by former U of R Ram, current British Columbia Lion, Ryder Varga, and we will talk high school football, amongst other things. He's back with me today. It's been a while, Stain style. Craig Adam is in the new studio. You made some time. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks, buddy, for stopping by.
You know, things have changed since the last time I came. You've got cameras here. I didn't realize we're back on television, so I had to bring some shine control for my bald nog. And, you know, thanks to my wife's hairdresser, Christy, yeah, I've got some shine control for the old melon. So,
you know, my wife, when we started streaming, it's always at sportscage.com if you're there, and hammer that like button on YouTube. She mentioned, she's like, shine control. And I've been meaning to go and look for it and get it. But at this point, I'm just like, I'm writing it out. This could be like our Where Are They Now feature for Floor Coverings International, locally owned mobile flooring showrooms, thousands of choices, FCLfloors.com. It's Craig Adams back. You're a realtor in the city. I just want to, how are things right now, the market wise, as far as real estate in Regina? I've been curious on that.
Well, that's a great question, and we get asked it a lot, right? How's the market? And the simple question is, it depends, right? Because it depends. Are you buying or are you selling?
And what are you buying and selling?
What are you buying or selling? And what are your time frames? And what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Right. So there's no simple answer, but listen, lots have been going on federally, provincially, municipally, and it'll be an interesting time ahead for sure.
Mm-hmm. I would love to sit here and talk U.S. election for 3 hours, but we're not allowed to do that, nor would we do that. But we are going to talk Riders. And, you know, again, I think the last time we talked was pre-Rider season. You're a diehard. You're at the games on social media. I see and all that. You know, take on the year so far, Craig, and a little bit of a roller coaster. First-year coaches, a lot of first-year players. You know, your just thoughts on where we are now.
Well, I think you're exactly where you want to be, right? You're one win away from going to the Grey Cup, and that's really what these guys have been playing all year for, and that's what the fans expect, right? Like we have high expectations, you know, and when I went from being a sportscaster, now I'm a season ticket holder. I've been a season ticket holder for a long time. I go to all the games, and that's what fans expect, and that's what they deserve.
What's been the brightest spot when you look at the team this year?
Well, I think you start at the top with the head coach, and he brings a totally different attitude, with respect to the players. You see the players respond to him. He's a real players coach. Trevor Harris, healthy for the majority of the season. Yeah. You really see what this team can do with a leader at the back, right? And I really think that has made a huge difference. And, you know, let's not forget about the defense. Like, this defense has really come a long way. And there are a lot of questions, right? With, you know, you got a rookie head coach, you got a rookie, you know, offensive coordinator in Mark Mueller. And, you know, I think they've proven, and they've had some growing pains, let's be honest. They've had some growing pains with respect to getting to know each other, getting to know the systems and everything and where they want it to be. But I think they're on a roll. I think they've got an incredibly good chance, now not easy, but a really good chance of going to the Grey Cup. And that's what you want. You want one win to get there and then see what happens.
Does this team, when you were back Global Sports Regina days, maybe not the team, maybe the mood and how like it just seems like they're all playing like the Ken Miller thing, which was post us on Global. But does it remind you of anybody when you go back where these players just totally bought into this coach and this coaching staff?
Well, they did that, and and I do remember one of the years that when I left the media and got into real estate. But I do remember, helping when Kent Austin did come and when Ken Miller was the offensive coordinator, and then just that vibe around the team. I guess you could go back to the days when, the Riders were losing a lot of seasons. Then all of a sudden there's a couple of magic moments there. Granted they had to go against Doug Flutie and that was not easy when they went to Edmonton that year and lost in the Grey Cup in '97. But there's a certain vibe around this team. Winnipeg probably says the same thing, but I think there's a difference in this team right now.
It's gonna be a fun 3 hours chatting about so many different things. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline, though. Perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, and all the Greek food you love, like souvlaki ribs and salad. You just can't make that goodness at home. Dave Thomas is standing by, voice of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Dave, another chilly one for you out there. We're days away. I was listening to some Winnipeg radio today, and it's funny because I know you guys had Bomber on yesterday. I wouldn't say that they're oozing confidence. They're very cautious. They know that they're going to see a Saskatchewan team. Yeah, they've beaten twice, but a Saskatchewan team that just seems to be coming in with that mojo.
First of all, can I back things up for just a minute? I think I might be having some technical difficulties because when I joined in, did you say that your wife said you were too bright? Like I've heard her say that you're not too bright, but never. Anyways, just wondering.
Colson rarely liked that one.
I'll be here for a while.
I'm here for all the dad jokes and all of Dave's Rider game intros.
I get the same vibe in listening to the media interviews and kind of talking to people that I have this week, is that there is some cautious optimism is what I'll use as the descriptive word, is the fact that there's faith, there's confidence in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and knowing what they've done. But as Luke Mullender put it so appropriately, it is hard to beat a team twice in a season, let alone 3 times in a season. And that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have to accomplish here on Saturday should they want to get back to the Grey Cup.
What caught your eye today? Anything coming out of Riderville?
Well, good news on the defensive line. Brian Cox Jr. was taking full reps on the defensive end. Miles Brown continues to take reps on the defensive tackle spot despite wearing a brace on his shoulder pectoral area. CJ Rivas was back on the field today. I was a little concerned when he didn't practice yesterday, but I think it was more of a maintenance day yesterday. So he was back practicing again with the defense. Offensively, doesn't look like there's going to be any change to the offensive line in that Trevor Reed is likely going to miss the game, the left tackle, albeit him not in a brace or anything is a good sign. I just don't see a way in which he's going to play. So that would mean Trevon Tate moves to that left tackle spot, and then Logan Ferland will start at right tackle, and Peter Godber starts at center. So those are kind of the big ones that you're noticing right now as we get closer to game time here on Saturday.
Any special preps, Dave, with respect to the Riders going into enemy territory? We know that Taylor Field or Mosaic Stadium is super loud for opposing teams. I'm assuming that the Riders they're in for the same thing when they head there.
Yeah, and the team is fully prepared for it. If you come in off Elphinstone, you could hear the crowd noise from there today as they have got it absolutely cranked up. A lot of people are actually bringing AirPods and using the noise canceling feature on them just because it is that loud with what the Riders are practicing. And it's a complete role reversal from last week, because last week the defense was practicing with the noise, and this time around it's the offense and making sure they've got their silence cadence set up. And also you can see that they're making sure that they know the calls as the offensive linemen again are screaming at each other in their ear holes, trying to make sure that each one knows what's supposed to be happening on each play. So the communication's a big key, and the Riders have been doing a lot of work on it this week.
And what about experience? I mean, we talk about this Winnipeg team that's been to 4 straight Western, finals, hosting actually 6 straight Western finals. The Riders, not so much. Do they talk about experience with respect to the Riders as they head in?
There are some veteran guys that they definitely are leaning on. Jameer Thurman is one of them on the defensive side. They've looked to him all year to really set a tone and again, just having been one of those been there, done that guys. Micah Johnson also is a guy on the D line that the team is looking to. And then you need to look no further on the offense than Trevor Harrison. And again, he is so dialed in, so focused right now in his preparation and just the way he is leading this team. And he's put them on his back for the most part. And again, whether it be through words, through the way that he's approaching the week, definitely Trevor Harris is a guy and the experience that is going to be leaned upon by this group. AJ Ouellette, of course, also has been there, done that a little more recently than Trevor Harris has. So he too knows what it takes to get back over that mountain and to the game. And he's looking forward to having an opportunity to do that in Winnipeg.
And I have to ask you, how are you feeling going in? Like this is your first playoff experience too. You excited to get there and get this going?
I didn't sleep Friday night before the game here. I'll be honest. I was like, oh my gosh. But going back there is going to be interesting, as I was fortunate enough to call games there with the University of Saskatchewan. So being at Princess Auto Stadium, as it's now known, was kind of a comfort zone, right? And the fact that I hated being there, as a Saskatchewan guy, but it also had that, security blanket. Okay, I know what to expect. I know where the clock is. I know where everything that I need is. But this time around, it's going to be a totally different feel. That Labor Day rematch is the loudest stadium I have ever heard, as I took my headphones off for a bit and just wanted to absorb what it was like. And that was a mistake because I had no idea what was going on. So I won't make that again, but it's going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Anything? So the thing that I'm curious about, right? It's just such a chess match. It's awesome. Just like last week on, Friday when we talk about Armstead and Ouellette in the backfield and what are they going to do? They're going to run, and they don't run it as much as we think and they think, and they game plan around it. Are you seeing anything from that without giving away anything to the opposition or the 204 numbers that are listening by any means? Are you seeing anything there? Are they both getting probably the same amount of reps that they would have last week or anything, Dave?
Actually, they wanted to mix it up. So they've got Logan Ferland running the ball quite a bit this week.
Yeah,
and
obviously.
just for the 204 numbers.
And Micah Johnson as a fullback.
I do rep counts during practice. I probably am just drive myself nuts doing that. So to me, it would seem that the preparation is very much intact. We're not going to see a lot as far as the media goes. Tomorrow's day is a work day. That's when the closed practice will happen. And that's when the full install of the game plan will be revealed. And we won't get a chance to see that. I would anticipate a healthy dose of everybody on the offense. How's that for sitting on the fence? Political times, my friends. But as far as the defense goes, they look dialed in. They look dialed in and ready to meet a challenge in 3 players in particular, and Nick Dembski, Kenny Lawler, and of course Brady Oliveira, who are the 3 keys and the 3 weapons that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have used to hurt the Riders and the rest of the league in weeks past. So we'll see what that defense has got dialed up to try to combat all 3 of them.
You talked about it, Craig, right? Like Mark Mueller, like first year, he's a Regina guy. He's in there, his grandpa, like the whole storyline as well. Like just to kind of put it in perspective, and I know that we've talked about it before, Dave, is this coaching staff. This is their first year, and where we are with the positivity, and we're going into Winnipeg. Winnipeg, this is winnable. Like what is it? 3.5 still. The line. So the smartest people out there that set gambling lines, 3.5. So it's not that I would think it would be, I thought it would be more like 2, but 3.5. But just this, like, I would like to know what Mark Mueller's week is like. What is he game planning? What is he seeing? Because we talked about it too, like with Winnipeg, right? Okay, maybe they're not going to run the ball as much, but they're just going to dink and dunk. And that's how Oliveira is going to get into the game, or he has against us. What are they doing on the other side to say, okay, well, the Riders are going to take that away now. Are we going to fire it deep down the sideline? Just that chess match, right? And yeah, it's not really, I guess this isn't really a question to you, but just the positivity with the coaching staff as well, and a guy like Mueller.
I'll be quite frank, because obviously my experience with professional, right, is limited, right? Where I'm at game 22 now, but in past teams that I've been around, the most successful teams have the most cohesion, whether that's in the dressing room between the players or whether that's in the coaches' offices between the coaches. And I've been in some situations where it's absolutely toxic. The associate coach or the assistant coach, they don't work well together or whatever, right? And you think that, well, geez, it's the coaches that assemble the team. Well, that's not always the instance. But this time around, this group genuinely cares about one another. They enjoy spending time together, and there's nothing worse than being trapped at a stadium forever, right? So this group, they work so well and feed off one another that I think that that's part of the success that Corey Mace has gone ahead and instilled. Now, there's so many other positives that you can draw upon, and when you bring that conversation back to Mark Mueller, the guy's been around the game forever, right? Yeah. Like, you can see the pictures with him and his grandfather in Hamilton, right? Those are some of the greatest shots ever. But never have I ever experienced with Mark a situation where it's become too big for him, the situation. And I go back to when he was playing football, right? Because again, he's had the same expectations on him all the way up as being Ronnie Lancaster's grandson, who happened to play the same position that he did. And there was never a moment that was too big for him, and he's combated it all the way through. So to me, he embraces that challenge. I think I've seen him grow as a coordinator in his play calling this season, and I'm excited for what he might have dialed up this week against Winnipeg.
Speaking of wives, smart Alec, what's yours saying about your hair? Because, you know, like, and the beard and everything. Is she digging it, or she's like, dude, you got to shave and cut that thing?
I just say, all right. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you do kind of look like Matthew McConaughey if you squint.
No.
Yeah,
that's right. She does not want she's all for a haircut soon.
I love it. I was trying to think of who you look like, and I was like, there's a little bit of Huey Lewis there. The facial hair is throwing me off, though. So, yeah. It's a thing of beauty. It's moving when you talk now. I love it. If people didn't catch it on Tuesday, people didn't catch on Monday that Dave's superstitious. He's not cutting his hair. He's not doing anything until this ride is done. So in Vancouver, hopefully we get to see full. And then Curtis said maybe we get some man bun action since you're going to Vancouver.
Oh goodness,
popular there.
Well, you know, the other superstition I've gone ahead is I haven't bought my kid a tank of gas in over a month, so I'm going to try to keep that one going too.
Yeah, that's tough. That one's a little tough. All right, buddy. Have a good one. Close practice tomorrow. We'll catch up and see how things go.
All right, and great to see Craig Adam where he belongs on camera. You look great, my friend.
Hey.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Shine free. Craig Adam. So it's all good. Let's get some Ryder audio when we get back. Take a quick break. If you're watching the stream, you see the famous Craig Adam right there. SportsCage.com, and as always, we are on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. I'm curious. We talked about the crowd, and it's going to be nutso in Winnipeg. It's sold out since last week. Kudos to them for sure. The support they're getting. I'm curious on how many Ryder fans though are making the trek. What does that place hold? It's like, let's call it 33-ish. Colson. What is the stadium in Winnipeg? Any idea?
Size-wise?
Stat guy. $5,000, $6,000. Because I remember talking to Ryan Pollock, and he would say a sellout Labor Day in Regina, he would say that'd probably be about 5,000 Bomber fans. Maybe that's a heavy for November and kind of a last minute. 2,000-3,000 Ryder fans?
It'll be tough to say because the Bombers knew they were in the Western Final, and so a lot of those tickets are getting gobbled up and sold out. Did Ryder fans hedge that they were going to win and purchase these ahead of the BC game? Hard to say. Is Winnipeg suppressing some of those 306 phone calls that are coming in? That's another one, because I know that happens, and so it'd be great to see a good portion of Ryder fans going. I would suspect that any Ryder fan, they're trying to get tickets, as we speak.
I just checked the Bombers website. You know how they said it was a sellout? I found one seat.
One seat for sale.
Yeah. $108, section 125, row 18. One seat if you want to go.
Maybe they're releasing a few.
It's going to be a great day. It's going to be 13 degrees, a little breezy.
What did you say, 27 gusts to 27?
Yeah, gusts to 27 out of the south, so it won't be a north wind, but it'll still be cool.
We usually get people that text in here and they'll say, we're going, or we're already here, we're there. There are a lot of riders. And then you think about it too, like that Moosomin, all that southeastern Sasky corner, jaunt into Edmonton, hit PF Chang's, go to a football game, zip home the next day, whatever it is. I'm going to actually look up the aftermarket prices here. I'm very curious on that. But Dave Thomas, today, as we talked to him at practice, he did talk to Coach Mace, and they talked about, as I said earlier, the mojo.
Coach Mace, in your opinion, how big is momentum, whether that be play to play, quarter to quarter, game to game, week to week? Is it a thing?
Huge. Momentum swings in games specifically, that could give you a little juice. It could take some out, but ultimately, again, same thing. You can feel momentum, but you got to capitalize on it. And if it's not in your favor, you got to do something to flip it pretty quick. So it does parlay, I think, in playoffs. You've seen it time and time again. A team has an excellent playoff game, and then the next week, it's like, dang, that kind of didn't look like the same team. So momentum in the playoffs from game to game, I don't know that really plays into much favor, to be honest with you. You got to just show up and prove it, each game, each series, each play that you're in.
So if we rewind to the Labor Day rematch in Winnipeg, the Blue Bombers were able to get momentum on their side early by blocking a punt and making an interception on their next possession. So if you don't have the momentum, how do you get it back in your favor?
Yeah, I mean, situationally too, those things happen early in the game, and you just got to remind everybody, hey, a lot of football left, tons of things that you can swing in your favor from that standpoint, but really I think what it comes back to is exactly, some of the things that we identify as kind of our building blocks here. And I think what this team has, like I spoke to, is just, that the belief in brotherhood. You lean on that in adverse situations, and you have the confidence to know that you can get out of it because you've proven it. You've proven it over and over again that you can. Then it's going to come down to doing your job and making the dang plays, right? So for us, it's just be who we are.
Zach Calero seems to have a lot of momentum heading into this football game, 5-0 in the playoffs as the starter of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. How important will it be for your group to get him off his spot and break his momentum?
Yeah, I think anytime, for Zach, again, you definitely you got to get after the guy and try to force him into some bad throws. I think our D-line has done a fairly decent job, trying to get him off the spot, make him feel uncomfortable. You also have access to the blitz game and things like that to get him going. But, it's not just that, from the back end as well, trying to, make it tough on him for his reads. And, but there's not a ton, similar to our quarterback. He's played a lot of football. So, and he is who he is, and their team is who they are because of, I think, a larger part of their veteran experience. So, yeah, tall task, man. But we got to be on it to go in there and then come out with a win.
I'd listen to that guy, right? And you've been in a number of locker rooms, either playing or media days. You'd listen to that guy. He just seems like one of the dudes.
One of the really cool things now, the way that, things are portrayed and how the media goes, and going inside the locker room now that they have cameras and the way social media is, and seeing the post-game speeches and the pre-game. We never got to see that. We were never in the locker room when that happened. And listening to Coach Mace speak to his players after that victory against BC and saying, please please. He was begging his players to enjoy the moment, but we're getting back to work the next morning. And he was very particular in what he was saying to his guys.
Drenched in Gatorade, which totally threw a number of people for early. What was your thoughts when you saw that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, chikai.
Yeah, there's wait a little bit, right? And it was, but hey, he's saying the right things, and he's got that. He doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. And that's the type of coach that you want.
Ron and Deb chiming in on the text line. Really good point. And this is one of those guys. You see it in all sport, especially hockey in the playoffs. It's like, oh, there he is again, scoring a big goal. In football, there he is again, making a big catch or a big tackle. Nick Dembski, can't sleep on him, right? Like just that dagger. He just always seems to show up.
He does, and it's like, Dembski, it's almost like Seinfeld, right? It's like Newman, right? Because you kind of forget, and then he's there, and he's a gamer, and he rises to the occasion at every single moment, and so you got to watch out for guys like that. It's going to be a hell of a game.
Some people chiming in here that they are going to the game. That's great. Brandon, shout out. He always messages in. He's we're going, but my brother says he's not. He's staying to look after the dogs. See, that's why I love dogs, and they're really pushing me around the Shink household to get another dog at some point. I'm just like, I love traveling. It's my vice. Traveling is my vice.
Imagine a pet-friendly stadium, right? bring your dog to the Ryder game.
The Blades have Saskatoon. They do that. Or was it baseball? Might have been baseball, the Berries. Bring your dog to the park.
Bring your dog.
And you see that in baseball. It's a great idea. Trisha messages in, heading to Vancouver, banking on the Riders going to be there all the way. Yeah, good idea. Ryder, Grey Cup, and Ryderville, which you've been to, and whether they're in or they're not, Ryderville's always an absolute party. So much fun. But if they're in the dance in Vancouver, like that makes a guy or girl want to last minute figure out a way to get there. We were talking.
Are you driving out?
There will be. If they win, there will be a lot of people that say, screw it. Let's just drive. Remember back in 89 and so I'm 12 years old, but I remember how many people bust to Skydome, the brand new Skydome in Toronto, to watch the Grey Cup game. And that is a haul. You're taking an iron lung to Toronto, but there will be people that do it. And then we were talking off air that the Coca-Cola, you need to have, what is it, Colson? You need to have winter tires or rated tires, or
they're called M&S, mud and snow tires. And so I think it's essentially a winter tire, but it's like a specific classification or whatever.
Certain tread or chains, so you're not getting through the Coca-Cola if you don't have winter tires on, right?
Some sort of fine. Yeah, winter tires are mandatory on highways October 1st to April 30th in British Columbia. Quebec, you got December 1st to 15th. Yeah, I'm surprised in Saskatchewan we don't have some sort of...
in 1989, the 1976 Honda Civic that I had probably was not making it up the mountains, pretty sure.
I was talking to a buddy that our kids are playing against each other. He's from Saskatoon, and we used to play with each other. And his mom, single mom, grinding, couple jobs, that whole story. And I remember she hit the ditch once outside of Dundurn. And my dad and everyone stopped and picked up. But there was no winter tires back then. There was rear wheel drive half tons skitting off the road. We were in a station wagon. I remember that. But there will be people that'll just load up and it sounds like it's one of those things. It sounds like a really good plan to go. It's like, let's just load up and drive. And then that drive back.
Yeah, it's a long drive. It's a haul.
So was it 24 hours ish to get to Vancouver?
Depends on the routes you take. One of the times when I was driving back, I took a wrong turn and it was early December, and it was 22 hours for me just to get from the island to my cousins in Calgary. So
where did you go to Spokane and down that way?
No, through the mountains.
Or did you go to Prince George?
No, not that far. Through the mountains. I forget the exact stretch, but there's a stretch where you go off the number 1 and you go on the number 5 through the mountains, because the number 5 is the actual main highway and the number 1's like the scenic route. And I stayed on the 1 because I didn't know where I was going. And then it was early December and the snow got the better of me. But I made it out, and then my car quit in Drumheller the next day. Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
Coulson. We are going to start a GoFundMe for Coulson and his ride from back to no. Frank says, going to the game, foregoing the Balcarres Bronx game Saturday night. Don't tell Gubba. Yeah, good call, Frank.
That's commitment.
Yeah. No, if I did not despise that Winnipeg drive, have to go there in 2 weeks' time, and somebody said, hey, we're loading up and we're going to Winnipeg, we got an extra spot. Absolutely. Stop at the Red Barn in Moosomin. Have a couple there. It's a nice lunch. Hit Verdun, maybe slow down.
Here's a question. Winnipeg is sold out. And now you'd have to make some kind of a prediction. If the Riders are hosting the Western final, are they sold out? There was some disappointment in the crowd last week against BC.
Yeah.
Do they sell it out? Do they sell it out here?
Yeah, that's a good question. If anyone wants to chime in on the Capital Ford Lincoln text line at 936-6262, Saskatchewan's #1 Ford retailer. I say we would sell it out. And then if it was Winnipeg, definitely coming in here. Yeah, that is a really, really good question. Because what were we shy last week?
28 and change, I believe it was. So
5-ish? 4-ish?
Maybe 4 or 5-ish.
I would hope to, heck, that we would sell out the West Final if it was us.
Yeah, here's the way that I look at this, Barney, and I have a little bit different lens on things because I'm going to the games, but there's been a lot of negativity with respect to Ryder attendance and not everybody's going and all of these things, and that really bothers me as a fan. It really does, because the people that are there, the people that are at the stadium, are having a really good time. And they are loud. And that's the loudest last weekend that I have heard that stadium in a long, long time. So rather than those that didn't even go to the game, they just saw it on TV, they saw a lot of empty seats, they want to chime in because it's all of the negativity surrounding that, rather than the flip side of that, saying, look, I just left the game and it was an amazing experience, and have that portrayed to the general public to encourage people to see, hey, you know what I just missed? I missed a heck of an afternoon at Mosaic Stadium. And I think that mentality has to shift a little bit in Ryderville. That's just my opinion. But
no, you're right.
I think that's where the message has to be, is the people that were there it was a really good experience.
I think there's a lot of people that are kicking themselves that they didn't go last week after the game. Exciting game. Riders played well. The thing, and mentioned this on the cage before, you and I haven't talked about it. The thing that I think, and they're seeing it in the NFL, if you go through the numbers, maybe not the major markets, but those smaller ones, those Clevelands, those Tennessees, where they do get a lot of traveling, I guess, too. Cincy it is so awesome to watch a football game on TV at home in 58-inch, 70-inch, high definition, all the camera angles. And you think about the NFL, just another level up, where the angles and what you're getting is where they've made it where people are, I'm just going to, and we're lazy. We're a lazy society. I'm just going to stay at home and watch it at home. And you're missing out because, like I said last, they don't come around all the time. Like football games, you only play so many. It's not like hockey or baseball where there's, okay, well, let's go to the next one. Okay, let's go to the next one. So when you do get a chance to go to a West semifinal at Mosaic Stadium and see a great game, it might not happen again next year. There's no guarantees. It's kind of like when the Pats, when they made the run a few years ago. Well, I guess it's more than a few years ago now, and everybody wanted to go. And it was the fear of missing out. It was that experience. When it comes to the Riders, and then the other thing is, I remember even we go like early 2000s into like 2010, where I felt like everything stopped around a Rider game in the province, even up in Saskatoon. It's like, well, no, we can't reschedule because there's a Rider game. Okay, cool. And now I feel that there's just, maybe people are so busy. People have so much on the go. Crazy hockey parents, me included, were so invested. The kids are going every night. They're going to 3 different things. They're going to training. They're on the ice. They're going to watch this. They're going to do this. It's like, whoa, we're back. And especially in our days, like our parents, like it was like, we're on the ice a couple days a week.
And the Riders aren't the only professional sports team that's experiencing this, right? I mean, it's, back, you talk about your parents, you talk about yourselves. I mean, we're talking about baby boomers, we're talking about Gen Xers. The millennials and the Gen Zs is a totally different generation. And there's been studies done, and it's essentially, it's what they call the growth of the digital fan. And that's exactly what's happening. It's like you said, you're sitting at home and it's the growth of the digital fan, because they've done studies. And I've read some studies with respect to how do Gen Zs like to watch their sports? How do Gen Xers like to watch their sports? And the millennials and the Riders and everybody else have a challenge on their hands because of this. Now we have smart stadiums, right? Now you got these smart stadiums that are interactive on game day. Now we're talking, billions of dollars that NFL stadiums are doing this. But there's some incredible technology that make that game day experience. And Mosaic Stadium is not there, but that's the level that things have got to at this point. And so it's not just fickle fans not getting there. People are getting their entertainment in other forms. And
that's a really good
sports
point.
Teams have to adapt to get these people out again. It's not just, you go and buy a ticket and go. I mean, like look at Major League Baseball. Like back in '95, you could go to a baseball game for $10, and now Major League Baseball hasn't gone up that much. It's only like $35 to go to a ball game. So it's not like it's now. NBA, I was looking, it's like $30 back in '95, and now the average ticket's like $220. So it's gone like up exponentially, but it's a different time.
Riders have made it so affordable to go to a game. And I know at the beginning of the year, I was talking to buddy Matt Miller, and his family went to a game, bought tickets, the family pack, and then someone from the Riders just contacted him and said, hey, just to let you know, if you want to get tickets, the season tickets, we'll kind of take off that game, what you spent, and then here's what it would be for the family. And they said, yeah. I think they did it. I think they said, we're in. We'll buy the season tickets. It's great. The kids love it. Kids love going. My kids love going. My kids love going to Pats. Especially my daughter loves going to every. Shelley from Kipling, shout out Al Batters out there. What a beauty. She says the extra week to sell tickets would have made it a sellout. Yeah, and the hype and that extra week. Yeah,
all of that stuff.
Probably totally right.
And people have the excuse, the beers are too expensive, the popcorn's too expensive. You know what? Do you see the lineup to get a beer and to get your pizza and to get your your poutine? It's lined up. Like people are not worried that it's $10, $12, $9. Like they don't care.
And people don't guzzle like they used to, right? Let's be honest.
Well, they don't shut it down on the third quarter. They used to shut down the beer lines.
With cannabis legal,
now they don't.
Now, people are walking in with gummies and all this. It's a different time. Time for a quick break. When we get back, the technology piece to stadiums. Did I ever tell you the Boston story? This blew my mind. I'll slip it out there when we get back. It's the SportsCage if you're watching it on the stream. You see Craig Adam right there. He's joining me today at sportscage.com. So I was looking at the aftermarket tickets. And you're getting into that game. Aftermarket ticket. Colson did say there was one available. I'm sure they kind of will release here. Probably with fees, $150. And you're in Winnipeg to that game. I've just, out of curiosity, looked up the Colorado Avalanche at Winnipeg Jets tomorrow at the Bell MTS, formerly Bell MTS place. What is it called now? Canada Life Center. And $67 before fees. to get in. But I don't even know. You might be able to get a regular. I don't, because they're not sold out. Might be able to go to their actual site. But that's Colorado. Colorado does have a lot of injuries. I went to a Jets game last year. Yeah, so all you cocky Winnipeg listeners that are out there being, we sold out. Our Jets aren't selling out. I went to a game on Saturday last year, and I was shocked. Who did they play? Washington, maybe? Somebody decent. I was shocked on how many empty seats upstairs in the Winnipeg arena there was. It was kind of sad. Not that I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan, but we'll talk to Eric Francis about this maybe too.
Are they like 14, 15,000 seated?
Under 14. Yeah, it's small. It's a great facility to walk. Playoffs would be so much fun there. But I would say under. I would hammer, if there was a bet, I would hammer the bet under 10 years the Jets aren't in Winnipeg anymore. I just can't see it, how it goes. So the Boston story. What is this now? 3 years ago, Roman and I go to Boston, just father-son trip. And first night was the Celtics were playing the Raptors at TD Bank. So I'm like, okay, well, we're not huge basketball. We got to go watch this. So we go watch the game, go into this one concession, and there's kind of a turnstile, and went in, and I'm like, okay, well, I grabbed a big Sam Adams, and he grabbed a drink and whatever else. And then we're like, well, okay, well, there's no checkout. Oh, they scanned your credit card before you walked in. And then there was no checkout. There's nowhere. And I said to the lady, I'm like, where do I check out? And she's like, no, you go that way. You walk through there and you're done. And I'm like, well, how do I pay for it? She's like, no, the camera, like you scanned your credit card and it followed you around. It knows what you bought. And I was like, come again? I'm like, this is 3 years ago now. So then I'm like, blew my mind. So then on the Sunday, we went to a college game on the Saturday. The Sunday, we went to the Jets Patriots at Gillette. They had, because MIT, like Boston's a very academic city, right? And MIT, so fitting that this started there. Maybe San Fran would be another one, or around Silicon, Santa Clara. So go to the Patriots game on Sunday. They must have had 5 of these on the one side. So the beer lines, like beer lineup and all that, were a thing of the past there, because they had so many of these things where you just walked in, grabbed your big can, scan, walked out. No till, no nothing, just followed you. So then I'm like, sure enough, I go check the credit card statement that night or the next day, and I'm like, bang on, beer, pop, Cracker Jacks, or whatever Rose got. And I'm just like, oh, what a world we're living in.
Well, that's that fan experience we were talking about before. And how do you get that generation to come out and they're there for the sport. You go to a Blades game, go to a Pats game, everybody wants to hug the mascot. That's how you get the kids out, right? Maybe the Pats have to, have kids' prices. That's another story. But it's that fan experience that you're talking about. And I'm not talking about when you're sitting in the stands and they have all of these. A lot of them are really annoying to me, but in between the plays and all of these things. But we're talking about underneath the stadium, on the concourse level, a whole bunch of other activities that, are going on, because that's where you get that next generation to come out. Because long are the days, and, when Gaynor used to ride around on his little car, and he used to run out on the field with his Go Riders Go and kill the Tie Cat and all this stuff. But when they got to the new stadium, they stopped all of that. That was part of that fan experience. So I think they have to reinvent themselves a little bit with respect to that, and move forward and think a little bit outside the box.
I think a kid until probably the age of 9 or 10, if they can fist pump a player, like that means so much. Like, just make that accessible. Everything. Hockey, everywhere. Like, just make that accessible. Good hour in the books here. Craig Adam is joining me here on the all-new Sports Cage today. When we come back after news, we're going to talk hockey with our NHL insider, Eric Francis. It's a Sports Cage streaming at SportsCage.com. Welcome back. Hour 2 of the program. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Craig Adam, and the CNC production company on the other side of things. Everything in podcast form. If you missed any of it, Dave Thomas joined us off the top. We still have some Ryder audio for you today. Yesterday on the program, they had Benny Walchuk, the SJHL, MJHL Western Showcases now wrapped up in Warman today, so we're back to regular hockey action in the SJHL starting Friday. We're going to have our Southie Mainline Chrysler Worth the Drive game of the week. We'll talk about that. You like talking SJHL all the time, Craig, back in the day.
All day, every day. Yep.
Yeah. We'll get to it later. I know we got waiting. Also in this hour, though, I got to say, Hardy Cup. It's the Rams and Huskies Saturday at Griffith Stadium. Going to be absolutely buzzing up there. Frank McCrystal, former U of R head coach. If you know football in Saskatchewan, you got to know two. You really have to know two names. You got to know Frank McCrystal and Tom Sargent.
Yes.
Brian Towers.
For sure.
And I guess we can go down Ryder ones too. But those are the names, amateur, junior, and college football that we know. So looking forward to our chat with Frank in this hour. But it is time to talk hockey with our NHL insider.
It's time to talk hockey on the all-new Sports Cage with NHL analyst Eric Francis. Brought to you by Southie Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed.
All right, Eric, big news. Oiler fans, excited. You don't look excited, I'll tell you that much right now. There we go. Got a smile out of you. Connor McDavid, back. I would say, for me, a little earlier than I expected.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely earlier. But, he's kind of got this superhuman history of coming back quicker than anyone else thought. So, or maybe they just gave him a huge buffer, as I would too. If I was running an organization that had the best player in the world on my team, I would give a large window for the possibility for him to return. And if he came back early, that's just a bonus. That's all right.
Who is Matt Coronado?
I guess that, outside of the Calgary market, I guess it's a fair question. Like, his first round draft pick, Calgary Flames. Played in the U.S. Junior Hockey League and had like a goal a game. His last 2 years, I think he averaged a goal a game. One of those ridiculous, stat lines. Then went to Harvard, played a couple years there, was an absolute stud at Harvard, and then came to Calgary as he was their first round draft pick from 3 years ago, and 3-4 years ago, I guess now. And he's known for having a deadly shot, for being a pure goal scorer. The knock on him the last year and a half when he was been back and forth between the minors and the NHL was, can he play defense, or can we trust him late in a close game to play the right way at both ends of the rink? He's worked on that over the course of the last year, and I honestly think so. You're asking me because last night he scores with 3 minutes to go, a real goal scorer's goal, holding on to the puck, then deciding to drive into the middle of the ice, which is the hardest place in the world to kind of penetrate in the offensive zone, and then snipes one home to tie the game at Bell Center, then wins it with 7 seconds in overtime. Pretty impressive. You had to admit, he looked like a seasoned veteran.
He did. He did. He looked like I was watching, I don't know, Nathan McKinnon or somebody else. He busts in, and the overtime goal, the funny story was, my daughter's there, and she knows Dad's a bit of a degen. She goes, "Did you gamble on this one?" I said, "Yeah. I need the Habs to win. I need Montreal to win." And they just blew it. So she sits down and she's watching with me, and it's 7 seconds into overtime. All of a sudden, here comes this Coronado guy again, snaps it real what a shot, laser, and I'm like, man, it's not spelt the same as Coronado Island in San Diego. Fantastic little Muni golf course, by the way.
So good. Yes, I played that one too. Isn't
it awesome? It's like $60. Naval base. Yeah. Since this segment always goes sideways, the one time we played it, it was really early in the morning, and I'm out there, and I just joined up with 3 guys because we were on a family trip, and all of a sudden everybody, I'm looking around, all these balls are dropping out of the trees because when it expands as it gets warmer, and the ball, and I'm like, so I'm just picking up all these. I'm like, Pro V, I'm going to put that in my pocket or my bag. And I look up and everybody on the golf course is standing and they're playing the anthem at the naval base. And I'm the only idiot walking around picking up golf balls where all these Americans are standing and I'm like, okay, if I ever come back here at 8 a.m, they fire up the anthem at the Coronado naval base or the naval base there. Yeah, but he's a Chicago Steel, Harvard, and now at the Flames. So, yeah, it was impressive to watch.
Well, and he's been given this perch on the most, I think it's the most opportunistic spot on the Flames roster, being with Coleman and Backlund, like the two most defensively responsible guys. But it's also quite an ask for a guy they've questioned his defensive ability. Now he's on the line that's faced with shutting down last week, Draisaitl, Bedard. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's quite a leap of faith to think he can do it. So far, so good. And I really believe, I know you're half joking when you say, who is he? But,
half.
I really believe that, not even half. But I really believe that this is like a massive turning point for his career. Like, I think he was in the minors like 6 days ago and scored 2 goals. And I really believe now that he's back up and what he did there, I think it's going to do so much for his confidence. And I think you'll never see Matt Coronado go back down to the minors again. And I do think he's a 25-goal scorer in the National Hockey League, no question in my mind.
I think it's really cool that we get these new names that are coming up. Eric, it's Craig Adam here. I don't necessarily follow the sports world like I used to, but when Barney had texted me today and we're going to talk Flames, we're going to talk Coronado, I thought he was talking about an old vintage car or something like that. That was back in the day, but it's nice to see these different names pop up, not just with the Flames, but other teams, and it's like then you have a chance to really delve into where were they, how did they get here, and I think that's a fresh take on the teams, and it's a fresh take on the league to get these new names that are out and about.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, it is a young man's game, and more of these younger guys are making an impact. I mean, Coronado's 21 years old. It's not like he's that young because he put a couple of years in at Harvard, but you got a Flames team right now that is in, I call it a hybrid rebuild. And you are hoping for nights like last night where the 3 stars of the game for the Flames were Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, and Dustin Wolf. These are all guys that are 22 or younger, and they're the future of this franchise. And, they can't do it without the help of the veterans kind of running the show here. But it's comforting to have nights like that where those youngsters are showing that if they're not ready to take over and be stars, that they're trending that way. And that was encouraging. I think people would say that would be great if they just would have lost in overtime, because the Flames fans, there's still a portion of them that want them to lose more often than they win, so they get a better draft pick next time around.
What are you hearing about, is it managers meetings next week? They're all getting together, and then that's a good time for the Team Canada brass for the Four Nations Cup to get together. What are you hearing there?
Well, I'm hearing everybody in hockey start to get excited and start talking about who should be on Team Canada. Like, it's been a lot of years, guys, since we had those good old discussions like, no, he should be on. No, he should be on. And I think last night was a good example. Cale Makar gets injured. And the first thing everybody starts to say is, oh my God, how long is he going to be out for? Is he going to miss the Four Nations Cup? And I know at this point in time, I do believe that there's a lot of people that are looking at the Four Nations Cup and maybe saying it's a bit gimmicky, maybe looking at it like the World Cup of hockey was last time. People thought it was gimmicky. I thought it was incredible. And the most genius move of that, I thought from the start, was the Young Guns team. And I was proven to be right on that one. There were a ton of people that thought it was it was a ton of people who thought it was just a gimmick and it was a shtick and it was stupid. But hey, I was at the Canada Cup in '87 as a 17-year-old hockey fan at Copps Coliseum, watched Mario Lemieux score probably the 3rd most famous goal in the history of Canada. And that tournament meant something back then. The Canada Cup meant something. There's no reason why these Four Nations Cups can't mean almost as much as that, and certainly almost as much as the World Cups of hockey. So let's start talking about who should be on Team Canada, because I got strong opinions, and they can change weekly with injuries, right?
Well, I want the thing that I've been kind of listening to, watching, and then trying to look myself is the defense. And I am somewhat shocked that Drew Doughty's, they're still talking about him, even though he's got an injury and he's out until I think December-ish, that they're talking that he could be on this team. And I was like, even without the injury, I thought it was going to be a stretch. Hey, the guy's a gamer. Like, he's an absolute gamer, but he's getting up there. And then Pietrangelo is another. I think he makes it before Doughty. But on the defensive side, are we going to see a couple of the old guys, or at least one of the old guys there?
Oh, I think so. I think they count on that veteran leadership. Pietrangelo's had a good start this year, and I think he's shown no signs of slowing down despite his age. And I think it's a natural. I think Team Canada is actually kind of fortunate that they've got a couple pairings that are pretty much set in stone. Like Cale Makar, if he's healthy, and I do believe he will be, and Devon Taves, that's a no-brainer. Like, they play together in Colorado. They're going to play together for Team Canada. Same with Jose Theodore and Pietrangelo. They play together in Vegas. They're going to play together on Team Canada. That's unfortunate for all the other hopefuls on defense, because that's just an added bonus that they already have chemistry and no one has to worry about them, reading off each other. After that, that's where the big debate is. Like, I think Josh Morrissey's a lock. I also think Noah Dobson's a lock. And the guy who I'm going to say is a lock, and I'm sure going to sound like a homer, but Mackenzie Weegar to me is a lock for your top seven. Should be a lock. I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying he should be. He scored 20 goals last year. He plays on both the left and the right, which is something none of the other defensemen can say. That's huge. That is huge. Way more comfortable. Yeah, he's way more comfortable on his offside, which is where he plays in Calgary. And I think that, he was in a club last year, 20 goals and 200 blocks. Only one other player. He's the only player ever in the history of hockey to get 20 goals and 200 blocks. He's one of only a handful of guys, only two defensemen last year had 200 hits and 200 blocks last year. Again, I hate to get into the stats, but it just speaks to how well-rounded he is. And the problem with these things, guys, when you're picking these teams, everyone just picks their all-star team. No. Well, you need guys to play roles.
Yeah, team.
And Mackenzie Weegar can play that role as a shutdown, very aggressive defender, and I think that's why he's a lock on my team.
It was, where was it, Nagano? Or where was it, where I kind of clued in on the whole, it's not an all-star team. It's like, you're not picking, Stratomatic Hockey was a board game back in like the 80s and 90s for like nerds. My buddy across the street and I played that. It was so weird. Like, looking back, I can't believe if you're watching the stream, I think I just hit something with Eric. Did you remember that game?
Dude, I have like 20 years worth versions. Like, I'm not going to dig into my drawer again, but I have a little trophy still in my house, the Stratomatic Cup. And my four best friends growing up, we played it religiously. And I just never hear people who used to play it. So I'm not really, oh man, you hit me hard with that one. Because most guys, am I wrong, Barley? Most guys don't know about that.
No, it was weird, man. And then you would tell people what you were playing. And it was kind of just, it was like the emergence of, like, Nintendo was already out. So we had Ice Hockey and Blades of Steel. And then it was Sega was kind of just coming out when I was playing it. But none of my friends, we couldn't afford a Sega. So then, yeah, we had the Stratomatic Hockey. We used to Slurpees and play it. It was really weird. So much fun, though. If we plan this golf trip, we might have to bring a Stratomatic.
We'll bring it.
What a couple of winners we would look like building up to a bar and play.
It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons for hockey fans, really. I don't even want to sit here and try to explain it to people because who cares? But got all these players' stats. You got to roll the dice, pick a card. You can challenge a guy. You might get a penalty. There's shots on goal. Oh my God, I love it. We put together our lines. Remember, if you got the rare guy who had a 4.4 rating, forward and defense. Anyway, let's not get into the weeds. But yeah,
it was real. It was a wild time back then. But yeah, so if you go Uyghur, then who would be left out in that list that you had? Like I don't know much about Dobson, right? Like New York Islanders, I have no idea. Morrissey, like you said, I figure he's a lock. Like if Uyghur squeaks in there, like who do you think? I know it's still November. It's a long time.
It's a long time, and no one's holding us to these rosters because of that. But one guy who definitely has played his way off the team is Bouchard. Look, you don't need a power play specialist like Bouchard is in Edmonton. He's had a terrible start to the season, and he's proven conclusively he's not very good defensively on many occasions. So to me, he's a massive liability. Like he's not in my conversation no matter how he rebounds this year. It's Doughty and Dobson are your 7 and 8. And I'm not saying that Uyghur plays ahead of Doughty or Morrissey plays ahead of Doughty. If Doughty's healthy and playing up to speed by then, he's a lock for number 5, if you ask me, because of his experience and because he's hard to play again. Like, he's not just a guy who gets points, right? Which is what so many people look at for defensemen. He's so well-rounded. He's my guy. So Bouchard's out. Dobson and Doughty are in. He's a dog. And he's that kind of guy, because this is like happening in February, right? It's weird. Like, how are guys are they gonna kind of, I'm not gonna really hit, I don't want to do this, and then it's just gonna take somebody with one big hit, and like a guy like Doughty is gonna be like, screw it, I'm here to win, I don't care, taking your head off. Another thing I wanted to ask is how are things going in Calgary as a market? Then Maz brought up this Flex Club. Because I was flipping through and trying to get the Regina Pats game yesterday, and I see the Hitmen, I think it's Rebels game on, and it was like absolutely empty. And then I'm like, yeah, and they have an AHL team in Calgary these days as well, and then the Roughnecks coming in. Like, does something have to give there? Will the Hitmen ever maybe move to that, what is it, Seven Chiefs, or that unbelievable facility they have out there? Like, what? Just the hockey scope and how things are going in Calgary. Like, get me up to speed. It's look, when the Flames brought over the Wranglers, 2 years ago, you knew they were going to cannibalize the Hitmen to a degree. But to me, the effect it's had is they've cannibalized each other. The Hitmen back in their day would get 6,000 to 9,000 people a game, depending on a Sunday. It was rammed in there. Now, the Hitmen have been pretty crappy for the last handful of years, so that really hurts your ticket sales. They were one of the better teams in the Western Hockey League for a good 12 years there, I would say. That's gone, so that hurts. But then the Wranglers come into town. I thought the Wranglers would come into town and they would get maybe 8,000 a game because there's so much interest in a rebuild and all these young players. And then I thought the Hitmen would still get 3,000 to 5,000. Both of them are getting like 2,000 to 3,000. That's it. And it's embarrassing in an arena that seats 18,500 people. Having 2,000 people in there is just humiliating. It's embarrassing. It actually hurts in terms of like momentum. The crowd noise getting behind you. It's embarrassing to play in front of that many people. So I like Seven Chiefs, or there's a place here called Winsport, which has a pretty good rink that I think could host a couple thousand people. That's where I think the Hitmen have to ultimately move, but they won't, because the Calgary Flames own all of them. And every time you have a game, that's 35, whatever it is, games for the for the Hitmen, where you're selling popcorn and pop and all that other stuff. So nothing's going to change. They're going to continue to get terrible crowds. And the only thing that can change it is if you win a championship.
How are things looking with the new stadium? Have they broke ground, getting going? 2027, they said they're supposed to open the new stadium, new arena.
Yeah. There's a massive hole right out front of the Saddle Dome right now, and I drive by it every day. And every day it gets a little bit bigger, and it kind of warms your heart, your soul, because it's been on and off again in this city for so many years. And it's so the point is, it's definitely happening. Whether they'll do it on time, they claim they will, no problem. Anyone who's ever done a renovation of any sort knows that it's a long shot. But I think they gave themselves a pretty good window to make sure it happens. So
well, that's
we'll
just
see,
it, right? And once shovels are in the ground, they know that it's happening, right? And all of the politics and everything else is now gone off, and it's happening, right? And you know, I'm pretty happy for Flames fan and the city of Calgary. I mean, you definitely deserve a new arena. The fans are always great, and it's nice to see that it's coming along, and everybody's excited about it.
Yeah, and but it's kind of a double-edged sword because, like, it saddens me. They're going to knock down the Saddledome, and I know it's time to move on, and I'm an old guy who I'm sentimental and all that, but I still think the Saddledome is one of the best barns in the National Hockey League to watch a hockey game. I really do. The press box is absolutely, without question, the best vantage point in the National Hockey League. It's right over the ice, and it's low to it. Edmonton is the worst in the league, so far back. I don't know where the new building's going to stand. They're trying to build it a lot like the Montreal Bell Center, where it's very steep. So I hope that the press box will be over the ice again. Nobody else cares about the press box except for me. By the time that thing's built, there'll be 4 people left in the media anyway. So
nobody cares about the media, no, right?
No, nobody cares. But I just think knocking the dome down. Like, what do you guys think from afar? I mean, I'm sure you've come here and you've sat and watched games in the dome, or at the very least, you see it on TV. It's such an iconic building. It's so sad to me that they're going to knock it down, shortly thereafter.
Well, I think that was, a lot of people will say that, Eric, right? Old Mosaic or old Taylor Field, people wanted to keep it, but it was going to cost, hundreds of millions of dollars to even renovate it, or I think the tab was $100 million, and the cost to build the new one was $280 or something like that. And I guess time goes on a smaller scale. The crushed cannon moose jaw was such a that was a terrible place for the media. You were trying to shoot highlights and you're getting beams in the way, and all of a sudden it's an overtime goal and the camera couldn't get the angle or whatever. But I think it's just it's the cost of having a professional sports franchise these days, right? It's time has to move on, or you're going to get lost and you're going to get left behind. So it will be sad for it to go. All the parties down Electric Avenue back, Coconut Joe's and everything else used to just give her after Flames games. That was back. Hey, on another one, I'll digress just a little bit. When I went to Mount Royal College back in the late 80s, Daryl Jans was one of my instructors, and sadly, we lost Daryl this week. Icon with CFCN, and he was a great mentor. He's a great teacher in broadcasting at Mount Royal. And the funny thing is, when we were in our television segment of broadcasting, and there's Kevin Carius and myself, and Daryl's like, that Craig, he's really good, Kevin, but I think he might lose his hair at a young age. And I'm like, okay, this is my mentor saying I'm already starting to go bald. I was only 21 years old and he's already saying that I'm going to be bald, and it's like, okay, Daryl, it's not what I was looking forward for. I was looking for a little bit of inspiration. Anyway,
a follicle savant.
He was a beauty. He was great, and certainly will be missed by everybody in Calgary.
He was a legend for sure. People in the city are quite sad he passed away. And going back to Coconut Joe's on Electric Avenue.
There's a Fox and Firkin and Coconut Joe's or something, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you nailed it. Coconut Joe's is actually a daycare right now. And the joke around this city is that there were kids that were in that daycare maybe 10 years ago that may have been conceived following a night of their parents being at Coconut Joe's, and now they're going to daycare there. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's very possible. Quite possible.
What's the gentleman's name that could picture the hair guy? Was his
Daryl Jans. Daryl Jans. Yeah,
that guy should tour around and he'd make a lot of money. He'd be able to pinpoint out who's going to go bald at a young age.
Well, he nailed it right on the head, right there. So,
okay.
That's how you get 50 years in broadcasting with Daryl Jans. That's how good he was.
Does he have a nice thick head of hair?
He's got a pretty good thick head of hair. Yeah,
like Eric.
He had the pipes too, right? So
like Eric, it's good hair. I can't believe you were at the '87 Canada Cup. Colson, are you waiting to chime in? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask Barney and Eric here. pick your year of Stratomatic. In the last 20 years, you can pick your year. Which one would you go with?
I would have played it in like 92, 93, in and around there. I just looked one up on eBay. 78. No, what is it? 2000 to 2001. $99. Could buy one.
To buy a used one?
Yeah. What's not new? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can order them online from the site. It exists.
Because it's just the cards.
Yeah, so you can get they make the last since like 2001. They make any of those. You can pick any of those year, or you can get the greatest of all time one. So you guys got the pick of the litter. WestJet's
having a Black Friday sale right away. I might just book a flight to Calgary. I might just nerd it up for a weekend and just play it. You and I.
Dude, I'm in my. I swear to God, I'll pay for two of my besties to come in. We'll have a 4-man. We'll have our own Four Nations Cup.
Four Nations Cup.
We'll play it. We could probably order cards and assemble all the teams. Oh, I'm getting excited. You know, I have all those old ones.
Can you pull the picture
I have
up?
20 years in my basement. 20 years of them in my basement. But you know what? I would love to order a brand new one just to see how it's evolved or it hasn't evolved, whatever. Online, there it is.
So look
streaming.
If anyone's watching the stream, the thing that when I pulled it up, I remember is the guy skating because they couldn't use they didn't have NHL. That guy's wearing like a cat's eye, the cat's eye mask that goalies would wear. He's wearing it as a forward. Now that's a T-shirt too. We should get that on a T-shirt.
Oh, that'd be a great T-shirt. And I remember it so well. Tell me, is it Glen Falls, New York? Is that where they're still based? That's where you'd order them?
Oh, I don't know. We'd have to check.
Oh, he doesn't have it there. Okay, I thought he was on the website. Glen Falls, New York. Anyway,
there's
dramatic, boys.
It's funny that there's probably 4 people listening that played Stratomatic. Okay, we get to regroup on Monday. I love it.
On Monday, we're going to go over the forwards for Team Canada because I spent a lot of time on it and I got it 100% nailed to. I'll be 100% accurate on it.
Monday's a holiday. We might have to do it Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll do it. Yeah, something to look forward to, buddy.
Stratomatic, Glenhead, New York, still headquartered there.
Glenhead?
Glenhead.
Oh,
Eric.
Love it.
These segments, so they're going to cancel us because they go sideways. All right,
sure.
Talk to you next week. See ya.
Maybe not. We'll be canceled by then. See you, boys.
That's our NHL insider, Eric Francis. Stratomatic hockey.
The Stratomatic, that's past my time. I'm like more Atari ColecoVision probably.
Yeah, but it was the same. Like I said, it was the same time. It was just something different. It was a board game, and it was like he said, he kind of hit the nail on the head. I never played Dungeons and Dragons, but it was like Dungeons and Dragons for hockey. It's for Southie Mainline, Chrysler, worth the drive every time. The new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. Right now, this month, up to $20,000 off MSRP on Ram 1500s, Dodge Durango, Jeep Grand Cherokees, etc. And the remaining 2023s have up to $13,000 off. That's the king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan, Southie Mainline, Chrysler. Time for a break. When we come back, at some point in the next half hour, we're going to talk to the legend, Frank McCrystal. It's the all-new Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. It's the all-new Sports Cage, streaming sportscage.com. As always, we're on the home of football in Saskatchewan and 620 CKRM. Barney Shynkaruk and Craig Adam today. And we just talked a lot of hockey with Eric Francis. We're going to go back to football talk here. And I am absolutely pumped that we got this guy on the show. It's a big week for football with the Huskies and Rams. Back out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. If you're watching the stream, you see him there. Legend Frank McCrystal joining the Sports Cage. Frank, I got to first off say you were worried about you weren't able to figure out the streaming thing. I think you baited me in just like your old coaching days. I bought that and you went right over my head.
No, I think it must be very easy because I got it without too much trouble. So,
what's Frank McCrystal up to these days?
Well, I have people ask me that all the time, but I don't do very much. I get up and have a coffee, watch the news, go for a walk. And then a lot of my days are filled up with hanging out with my grandkids, who are actually downstairs. I'm up in my office upstairs here, and I got 2 grandkids downstairs. So yeah, hang around with them most of the time. Go for coffee with guys sometimes. So
Yeah. Are the grandkids like football age yet? Playing the game?
Not yet. I've got a 4-year-old grandson, and I've got a almost 2-year-old granddaughter and another almost 2-year-old grandson.
Well, that 4-year-old can start playing flag this spring, I think, and then you should coach and then just scare the snot out of everybody when you walk on the field.
No, I don't think so anymore. Actually, he did play flag football this year, and it was good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great league. Hardy Cup Saturday in Saskatoon at Griffith Stadium, a field that you know quite well from your days. 22 years since we've seen the Rams and the Huskies play in this game. Is that surprising? It's taken that many years to have these two back in this clash, Frank?
I don't know. There's not that many teams in the league, and they both play pretty darn good football. So I don't really think about it, but when it's brought up and when you called me and talked to me about coming on here, I had to go back and think about it. And honest to God, I didn't even remember the score. I had to check what the score was. All of those things. I had coffee on Wednesday or yesterday. I'm sorry, with Bernie Schmidt. And my friend Ed Bankowski and Erwin Klempner, who was also a coach back in those days, and we talked about that game a little bit, what we could remember. So,
because I was working Global TV in Saskatoon, so I was covering that game there. You were just finishing, Craig, at Global Regina?
Yeah, I had left in 2000 and the spring of 2022, and so I had missed
202.
202. That's right. Yeah, and had missed that game. So
what do you remember about that game now that you went back over coffee and all that, Frank? I think it was like Neil Hughes was hurt. That was one of the key things. Yeah.
That was a big thing. I mean, before the game, Lauren Calvert was there, the premier, which was kind of fun. And it snowed. And we took an extra 5 minutes. At halftime, we asked for extra time to clean the field, and all they did was clean the yard lines. And I know I came out from the dressing room, and I said, "Why did we take 5 more minutes instead of cleaning the whole field off?" But you know what the problem was? It was the referee in chief, and he was actually from Saskatoon. So I blame that. It
never stopped. It never stopped, right?
I was just going to say it when Barney said he was with Saskatoon Global. I said, well, obviously this is the first time we would have ever spoken then. So
I remember interviewing Frank, and then you know what? That makes sense. The Saskatoon. Maybe a relative or something you mopped up. He was with the Hilltops the years before. It's great though. Like, are you following the Rams quite closely still, Frank?
I don't really follow them a lot. Like, I certainly know what's going on with them. And, Mark McConkey I'll talk to him sometimes, and we'll go for a coffee or a beer, and Bruce Anderson and that sort of thing. But, it's always a little more challenging. Like, it's their team, it's Mark's team now. And if Mark calls me and says, "Hey, what about this or that?" Certainly I would share with him. And I know that he's, from time to time, will talk to Bernie too about offensive stuff. But it's sort of like in the old days, Cal Murphy used to come when he was working for the Indianapolis Colts. He was a scout, and he would come and look at game film at our facility all the time, and I would ask him something. I go, "What about this at a practice or that?" And he says, "Well, are you asking me?" I said, "Yes, Cal, I'm asking you." So you got to make sure that you're being asked, I think, before you kind of hang around. So
that's good.
Frank, take us back to the junior days of the Rams, and then the decision to go to Canada West and the university route. The thought process back then and the challenges that you guys faced, because it wasn't an easy transformation, I don't imagine. And because we're already talking 1 or 2 generations of kids now, because it's been a long university program, but it wasn't always, what were the thought process and challenges you guys had back then?
Well, to be quite honest with you, we were winning a lot in juniors. We really were. And I'm not saying that to kind of be a smart aleck or anything.
We won a lot.
Oh, trust me, I know. Yeah.
It was like the happiest people in the world were the Saskatoon Hilltops that the Rams were leaving.
Playing the damn Rams again. Yeah.
No, go ahead, and, Frank. Sorry.
It wasn't doing our guys any good. And it certainly wasn't doing some of the other teams. We were playing the Winnipeg team and beating them badly and it wasn't helping anybody. It wasn't helping anybody in relative to them getting better as football players or having a good experience that allows them to be more and better citizens. So we thought that we would give this a whirl. And we talked to a guy named Charlie Bailey that was coaching McGill at that time. Really good guy. And he was in town recruiting. And so I was able to get in contact with him, and we went out and had a coffee or a beer or whatever and talked about it and what it would involve and so forth. So it was that sort of thing that caused us to make the move. And, we decided that before the 98 season because we wanted everyone to have an opportunity to know that we weren't going to be in the league and to arrange everything from schedules to, what they may have to be challenged about too. So that was good. But once you get in there, I think you face some challenges. We were a pretty young team because we were still junior age, guys like Neil Hughes and Jason Claremont, terrific players, but man, they were like maybe 19, 20. Mm-hmm. And then we were playing, there was no age restrictions then, which I think they've gone back to now. And when there was no age restrictions, we were playing guys that were 26, 28. There was a guy walked on the field. We were playing the Dinos. And I said, oh, geez, look at that. That's a pretty young coach. And they go, no, that's a slot back. He was number 32. He was 32 years old. So, those certainly were challenges in that respect. But I think the other thing that again, speaking from the Ram perspective, one of the real challenges we have is recruiting and getting people to come. This is, I think, the next biggest school in Can West is twice the size of the U of R in terms of student population, and we are essentially an undergrad university, so we don't have the colleges, that the other teams all have. So it would kind of be like Lumsden playing Campbell, if I'm talking to Regina, and that's to get to the Hardy Cup and to do what they've done this year is pretty darn impressive, really.
Was there Frank McCrystal joining us here on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline, legendary coach of the U of R Rams? Was there the Daryl Leeson effect too in those years? Because that's the name I remember being from Saskatoon. It's like this Daryl Leeson guy, like Jesus, what a quarterback to get to that, to make that CIS jump.
Yeah, he was really incredible player. From Hudson Bay,
Hudson Bay,
yeah, and, exactly. And we a guy named Ed Bankowski, a longtime director with us. He drove me up because I get lost all the time. He drove me to Hudson Bay, and we met with Daryl and his family and looked at some video, I guess, up there at that time, and came away and we go like, man, this guy's he's like 6'4", he's 215 pounds, and he's coming out of high school. He did some amazing things for us in junior, and then he went to play for the Dinos. But what's weird is Ron Lancaster was coaching the Edmonton Eskimos after the 95 season. So in 96, he was coaching the Eskimos, and he called me, or I called him because they were going to take Daryl to camp. And I said, are you serious about this guy? Like, he's junior football, he's Canadian. Are you serious? And he goes, Frank, I'm serious. He won't be number 1. He won't be number 2, but he'll be number 3. And Daryl went up there and had a pretty solid camp and did well in an exhibition game here in Regina, but he he chose to go to the Dinos, which was really weird. The UFC went to the Dinos, and I think he played a season or 2 seasons there. Wasn't getting the shot that he wanted to, and then decided to come back to us, and certainly carried us through some great things through 2001.
He was so good. Quickly, we got a couple minutes left here. Are you following the Riders? Like, what's your take on the Riders here into Winnipeg?
Every so often I phone Mark Mueller, but I only phone him when they're losing. Like, everybody wants to jump. But when a guy's winning, they go, "Hey, congratulations, wonderful for you." But I called him after the Labor Day game, and he was very sad after Labor Day. But I did get him giggling and laughing, and certainly we made fun of all the people that are easy to make fun of. But how they'll do, I who knows? I predicted the USA elections wrong, so I don't know that I'm a great predictor here, but certainly they're going to do well, and I know they're going to be prepared, and really wish all the best to those guys that are playing, and obviously especially Mark.
30 seconds left here. I've wanted to ask this question to Sarge, to Brian Towers, and now I'm going to ask it to you. Was there ever a chance that you were going to make a jump to the pro ranks back in the day?
I was asked to go and guest coach, for example, with the Riders, but I didn't. I was teaching back then, and when I looked at it, what was best for my family, I wasn't interested in. So I didn't pursue that hard, and the other thing I told them is, when people ask me, I'm a head coach, man. I'm not doing the coordinating or area stuff. So,
Frank, this is awesome. We're going to have to do this again. Thanks so much. I guess go Rams and go Huskies, or go Rams and go Riders this weekend. Yeah, thanks so much again, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, thank you. Good to talk to you.
And I'm Frank McCrystal.
So the Hardy Cup, you're a Saskatoon high school guy, and I went to Aiden Bowman. Well, I'm from Hudson Bay, but I moved away. Evan Hardy, collegiate.
Yeah.
That's the Hardy Cup.
Yeah.
The Hardy Cup was named after Evan Hardy, who was the head of ag engineering at the U of S. Huh. And the funny thing is, he played 5 seasons with the Huskies, and then they changed the rule that it was only for the students.
Oh.
So as one of the instructors he could have played for 15 years if they didn't change the rules. That's the Hardy Cup.
What a tidbit. It's the all-new SportsCage. Time for a break. After the news, we're going to have Ryder Varga, former U of R Ram and current BC Lion. If you're watching that stream, sportscage.com. It is for the Saskatchewan Rough Rider Foundation, 50/50, riders5050.ca. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. is the deadline to get in on the early bird prize. And it is a trip to San Francisco to watch the 49ers and the Rams. 2 tickets to the game, flights, accommodations, transfers, or you can take $9,000 cash instead. But you got to get the 50/50 by tomorrow at 5 if you want to play in the early bird prize. So, you ever been to a game in San Fran? At the Santa Clara?
I have not.
Okay.
Nope,
it's
not.
a very nice stadium. It's way out. And the accommodations is in Fisherman's Wharf. So, you get all the Ghirardelli chocolate. And
would love to go.
Alcatraz and lots of street people in San Fran. It's an interesting place. Still more to come. If you've missed any, Frank McCrystal, we got a chance to just have a nice chat with Frank McCrystal. That was great. That's going to be in podcast form if you want to go and listen to it. Also, the Eric Francis is up from last hour. That went off the rails. That was a lot of fun. We're going to stay with the football chat right now. We're going back out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. He was here on Saturday. Now he's back on the West Coast. Former U of R Ram, current BC Lion, Ryder Varga joining us. Hey, unfortunate. Didn't work out for you guys Saturday. But we want to talk first about the U of R Rams, your alma mater. They find a way to get it done. They're in the Hardy Cup. Again, there it is. Yeah, if you're watching the stream, he's wearing his Ram shirt. All Sasky matchup in the Hardy Cup, Ryder. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2002 was the last time it happened. So I was about 3 years old. So I don't remember it too clearly, but I'm excited for this one. My roommate's Riley Pickett from U of S, so we got a battle here for some pride.
No, I'm sure there's a little wagering going on. Are you still close with any of the guys? Because you're only 2-3 years removed from the Rams. Still close with anyone on that team, or chat with any of the guys?
Yeah, for sure. There's a good handful of guys still that I saw it in the last couple of years of my career there, and then all the coaches too. Like, they kind of coached me growing up. Like Sheldon Gray, he's coached me since I was 10 years old or so. So it still goes deep. Text the guys, and when they're losing a bunch of games, I was texting them like, "What are you guys doing? You guys got to figure it out." But they're good now, so they're making me proud.
Ryder, nobody would understand rivalries more than football, hockey, like anything Regina, Saskatoon. We talk high school, you talk junior football with the Hilltops and the Thunder and the Rams and the Huskies. Like that's a hated rivalry, is it not? Like going up to Saskatoon and playing the Huskies, like that's some good rivalry going on. Was that something that was inbred with you guys growing up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they always think they're better than us, and my roommate will tell you Saskatoon's 5 times the city that Regina is, so I always take that one to heart.
So they have some bridges. Okay, they got some bridges.
That's all I say. You guys got bridges.
Yeah, they have a river. Yeah.
Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on, fellas. Ryder, I'm from Saskatoon, West Side. So I don't know where your friend's from. Right. And I moved down here, met my wife, been in Regina now for 19 years. I'm going to tell you, there isn't a lot different between both cities.
No, I've lived in both. They're both beautiful cities. I just like giving people a hard time. So the whole
cocky Saskatoon thing, because I get it now too. They're like, "Oh, you live in Regina," and it's like, "Yeah, you live in Saskatoon, not Venice Beach."
That's right. Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.
I should call him in here. He would love to hear this right now.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. Okay, I know you were playing Lions and Riders last, but did you go back and watch the highlights of how the Rams came back in Manitoba, like that last 4 minutes?
Yeah, so I was actually in the locker room before, and I was listening on the radio, and I kind of knew the score, and it was right after Stubbs got that long touchdown run, so I kind of joined in. I thought we were winning, then I joined the radio, and I heard that we were losing. I said, "Oh, damn it, you guys, like, what happened?" I left for 1 second on the Twitter, and all of a sudden you guys are down. But it was electric. It was electric hearing it. I was sitting in my locker just visualizing the play calls and stuff like that. And just the fact that they went on that huge drive. Every play, they're bouncing back, and they hit some penalties, and they come back. It was awesome. It really made me amped before the game. And then just play calling Josh Donnelly. That's the OC there. That's one of my good friends. So really proud of him, and hopefully he can continue doing that.
That's awesome that you were listening to the game. I don't know if I've ever heard that. That's commitment to the school. That's for sure. U Sport playoff, pro playoff game. Like, emotions are high in both. It's football though, right? And you see it. You played for Leopoldus. You go down even probably to RMF when you're in this football game. That emotions. Football is weird because it's one game, and there's always something weird that happens. But maybe, and I'm asking this to you now that you're playing pro, maybe when you go to that amateur level, the college level, and then down, is there a chance for kind of a little more weirdness to happen just with all that, I guess, youthful exuberance or whatever you want to say compared to the pro game?
Yeah, I mean, football's football. Like, anything can happen at any level. Just, when the younger and less experienced, levels tend to make more mistakes. Yeah. So I'd say they're more prone to have like a wonky game or what have you. But it's always good football no matter what. So everyone is fully in 100%. So.
What if you get a chance? If you got a chance to get in there and you had a chance to hype up the Rams, I don't know, maybe they'll get you to do a video of something like that. What message would you give those guys?
There isn't much that I can say. I'm not a big oorah guy, but they know what's at stake here. This is their first time with the Hardy Cup in a long time. So it's one game. Anything can happen. You just make sure that you're giving your all every single play. You don't want to have any regrets after the game, like, oh, I kind of gave up on the play, you can't do what ifs, but if you tried your hardest, you can live with the result either way.
So yeah, a couple of years removed from college football. What's been the biggest difference, I guess, moving up, and the biggest challenge, obstacle for you moving up to that, that pro level?
I would just say the biggest obstacle is definitely just the athleticism up in the CFL. I mean, most of the American guys have been in the NFL or had their little stint in the NFL, and it's like every kick returner, every punt returner, every running back is like the best athlete I've ever seen. Where in like college, there might be like one or two running backs on the lead where I'm like, hey, like I really gotta lock in if I'm trying to tackle this guy. But the other ones are, they're just average, like great athletes, but not making you look silly out on the field. But everyone in the CFL can make you look silly, so that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, let's go to last week's game. Hey, I thought you guys played a good game, right? The Riders seem to be hitting stride at the right time. Mojo going. Question for you: when you guys found out that Armstead and Ouellette were both going to be in the lineup, both playing, did that change the Lions' game plan at all? Did you get to be a little more cautious, obviously, with both guys back there?
I wouldn't say that to change our game plan at all. I would just say that you have to be cognizant of who's in the backfield, because Ouellette and Armstead are two completely different runners, right? Like, if Armstead wants to try and break to the edge and stretch out the field, then he has the speed to do that. But Ouellette, we weren't as scared of him going east-west. It's just when he goes north-south and he has a hole, it's, you got to earn your check there in the hole with him. So,
yeah, that's for sure. Interesting year with like VA and Rourke and everything in BC. Was it hard to silence that noise, like from the media and everything else?
Well, for me, it wasn't that hard because they're not pressing me about it every day, but I'm sure the coaches and the quarterbacks that got asked every single day about, what's going on and how they feel and what the plan is, I'm sure that kind of wore on them a little bit, but you kind of just have to lock in to do your own, control your own, 10 square feet that you have in the organization. So
what is your roommate there from Saskatchewan? What do you do in the off season now? What's the off season hold for Ryder Varga?
Well, I'm gonna go back home right away. Actually, tomorrow I got my flight booked, so go home and just spend some time with my friends and my family I didn't see through the whole summer, and chill out for a while. And then, before I know, I'll be training again and getting ready for training camp in May. So, but
when does training camp start?
Off while I have it.
When does training start for you?
Or like second week of May is when training camp is, but I'll start training probably in December. I'll get the itch again, but
don't want to get into it.
So
don't want to get back into it too quickly.
Obviously, we're heavy on the Rams here. We're going Rams. Are you going up to Griffith, or are you just going to watch it, or? I'm
gonna make the trip. We got
right on.
I pulled some strings. Yeah, we'll be good.
Being a Regina boy and a Saski boy, now that the Lions are out, do you maybe root a little bit for the Riders going into Winnipeg here?
I can't even. I hope everybody loses, is what I hope.
That is a great answer.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think everyone's going to lose. I don't think anyone will win the Grey Cup this year.
Answer.
Do you have a prediction, though? Even a prediction?
I think every one of them could win it. I honestly have no idea. I feel like last year it was a lot easier to see before a game even started, like who's going to win it and be pretty confident. This year I feel like it's been really anybody's game, any given game day. So I honestly have no idea.
It's too bad. I just thought of this. It's too bad you're coming home that Leboldus couldn't pull it out. They lost to Campbell in the city final last week. But Leboldus is young. They say they're going to be a wagon for a couple of years here.
That's what I heard. My buddy told me they're going to be a wagon this year. So
yeah,
hopefully they can catch a couple of games.
You know who's not going to be a wagon this year is our New England Patriots. I see you wearing the Patriots hat there. It's tough, but you know what? We had our run. It's okay. We had our run. Now we're rebuilding.
Drake May's legit. I love Drake May. It's just the play calling and go down the list. About everything else needs to get changed. But Drake May's a stud. I love Drake.
I know. I just worry because I thought the last guy in the first year we had a stud too, and then. But yeah, play calling, everything will turn around. Okay, well, travel safe back. Travel safe up to up to Saskatoon. Let's hope the Rams can do it up there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right on. That is former U of R Ram, former Leboldus Golden Sun, former U of R Ram, and current BC Lion, Ryder Varga, joining us. Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised, when he's making the jump, the speed, the skill, he doesn't have to learn the Canadian game like, a lot of the former NFL guys that are coming down, having to learn an extra guy in the field, motion in the backfield, all kinds of stuff. They've got to learn. They've got the skill and athleticism. It's learning the plays and stuff like that. And then going from junior and college up to the pro ranks to a lot of other distractions, right? You've got way more stoppage in play. You got commercial breaks. You got all, I know you have radio timeouts and stuff like that, but it's just, you really got to keep your head in the game.
And then, you start getting married, start having kids, start having to worry about, there's so many other things. And that pro level, he's still, young
paying
enough.
bills.
He's got his buddy, him and Curtis were talking about video cards or something. So to be that young again, not have to, how am I going to get the kids here? How am I going to get them there? What's my wife? Oh, she's no. No, it's, but anyway, Hardy Cup. It's right here on, it's on 620 CKRM 2, the Deuce, as we call it. Brendan McGuire, Derek Bedwell going to have the pregame show, 12:45, play-by-play at 1 o'clock. You go to 620ckrm.com, you look for CKRM 2, you see it there. I'll be tuning in, unless I go. Still an outside chance I'm making the trip up, because it's not every, like I said, it's not every,
look how it's been a long time. The last time they played for a Hardy Cup, right?
Yeah.
22 years.
Yep. We are going to be talking hockey when we come back, because massive news, about a month and a half ago, and then tomorrow is the big vote by the NCAA. Will they allow CHL players, that's WHL, OHL, Quebec League, after or even during their junior career to go down now and play NCAA hockey? We're going to be joined by NHL agent Wayne Kosior. This is the all-new Sports Cage on the home of the U of R Rams, 620 CKRM. It is the Wednesday Sports Cage for the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation. 50-50. The early bird by tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock is key. Riders5050.ca, and you get a chance to win the early bird prize of the trip to San Francisco to watch the 49ers and Rams. Two flights, accommodations at Fisherman's Wharf at a fancy hotel called the Argonaut. Hotel transfers to the game, or you can just take $9,000 cash if you want to make it easy and go to your own NFL game. But you got to get in by 5 o'clock tomorrow. Riders5050.ca. Ryder Varga joined us before. That's going to be in podcast form right away. Colson's working on that, getting it up. Craig Adam is with me all day here today. Go through the Hardy Cup. The people that maybe just driving home didn't get it. You had the history of why it is called the Hardy Cup, which I never knew.
Well, named after Evan Hardy, right? Evan Hardy Collegiate. Yeah. Famous, of course.
Evan
the Evan
it beat
Hardy.
us in the semifinals.
Yeah, there's some great football players played for Evan Hardy. Dwayne Demetrician, I believe, and some other ones, of course. So Evan Hardy was the head of the agriculture engineering department at the University of Saskatchewan.
Okay,
right.
So like a teacher,
an instructor. He played for the Huskies for 5 years, and then they made a rule that, hey, maybe this is only for the students. And so they actually had to change the rule back so Evan Hardy could not play anymore. Like, he, maybe could have played 20 years. Who knows? But anyway, the Hardy Cup, named after Evan Hardy.
Wouldn't that have been something if he was there? There's a story, and I had it up on my desktop, and I took it. There was a college player in the States that there was some sort of loophole that played at a crazy age. I think it was this year or last year, somehow, some way, but it was really interesting. Speaking of college hockey, NCAA Div 1, it's a big deal. It's like in Canada, it can be. And, you see the kids going the junior A route, or they go to BC into the BCHL now, or they go USHL down there. But if you're an American kid, and especially like that Eastern Seaboard up and around there, like, you want to play Div 1 college hockey. Like that, yeah, you know about the major junior thing up here, but that's what you want to do. And it's always kind of been, you got to choose. A lot of kids got to choose one way or the other, because if you go play major junior, it's considered pro, for lack of a better. I don't want to get into all the Stratomatic hockey, of all this, but it's considered pro. So then now you're foregoing your NCAA eligibility. Like you're talking one exhibition game. One game, so that's where a lot of kids would wait, and they won't go. And it's like, no, I want to go to school.
Rod Brindamore playing in Notre Dame. Yeah. That's the reason why he didn't go, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he wanted to go and have a scholarship and everything else. That's why there's 50 NHL scouts and 10 fans at Wilcox watching Rod Brindamore, Curtis Joseph, Kent Manderville, Scott Pellerin, all these guys, right?
Wow, yeah, those are good. And then more recently, a Cale Makar.
There you go.
Brooks Bandits.
Correct.
Playing college. We had this guy on, going back out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect night for a Western Pizza wheel. It always is. Wayne Kosior, agent. And he's kind of tied in pretty closely to this whole operation and what's going to go on. But tomorrow is the vote, Wayne. Right? We've been waiting for this. It kind of shifted a couple times, but now it's like November 7th. And so it's the NCAA that is voting and saying, all right, yep, you've played major junior hockey. We don't care. You're eligible to play. For lack of a better, in layman's terms or whatever, is that how it's going to go down?
Yeah, essentially you're pretty close there, Barney. And before we get going into that, I have to compliment Craig there, man. He brought back some old names there that I haven't heard those names in a long time, except for Brindamore, of course, still in the league coaching, but some good old names there from the Hounds program. So that was fantastic. But as far as what you asked there, yeah, tomorrow it's been put on the agenda for the D1 Council meetings where they're going to talk about CHL eligibility for players. And it's basically expected to be a slam dunk. It's going to happen. I've been talking with a number of D1 coaches. We're actively talking about some of our players. They're actively recruiting both Western Hockey League players and U Sports players. So U Sports will be a part of this also. So it's going to be an interesting day. I think we kind of know what the outcome is going to be, but again, we can't say for sure until it happens.
Okay, we can't go for sure, but are we in that 90 to 100%? That it's going to happen?
I would say it's 99% based on the discussions that I've had. So, there's going to be a lot of things that have to get worked out, though, Barney, that'll be related to this approval. And I'm sure, the WHL is thinking of it. I'm sure the NCAA is thinking of all these different things. But certainly there's going to be a lot of impacts and repercussions when this decision does get announced.
Yeah, I think one off the top of my head is now, okay, the Saskatoon Blades or Regina Pats or whatever. It's okay, well, yeah, we have the education fund for you, but if you are 2 years in and all of a sudden you Michael Bolton for the NCAA, well, then now you're forgoing that because now you're going down and getting a ride from wherever. That's just off the top of my head. What are you hearing? And I think the last time we talked a few weeks ago, you were starting to field a lot of questions from kids, from parents, but also there's a lot of NCAA schools that allegedly have been up scouting the Western Hockey League like crazy already this year.
Oh, absolutely. If they're not there live in person, they're certainly doing it on video. Like I say, I've had calls from a number of schools. We got a number of CHL players basically been talking pretty much about every one of our single players because certainly the 20-year-olds this year, the 2004 born, are going to be very attractive to them. They can go in, as college freshmen and have an impact. But it sounds like they're also going to be looking at 2003 and 2002 born, where they basically think, say, as a 2002 born player, they could go in and essentially be a junior for them, like a third-year player. So there's some colleges that are looking to ramp up that may pick a kid out of U Sports that played Western Hockey League, has a couple of years of college under his belt, so he still has 2 years of eligibility left, and it's going to be an immediate impact player. So all kinds of things like that. So it's basically made the college recruiting job 10 times harder. Every guy I talk to is just hating all this stuff because, now they're having to scout the WHL. They're having to scout U Sports. It was a big enough job as it was just to scout all the junior leagues and the prep schools, but now the pool's got a whole lot bigger.
Yeah, that would.
What you start thinking of say the SJHL, AJ, one of the reasons that they can attract some players because of that was exactly that reason, is the ability to go down there. Does that make their jobs that much harder?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what's going to happen to Junior A, Craig. I'd have to assume what's going to happen is that, the elite players will now not hesitate to go to the Western Hockey League here in Western Canada. There's no reason to stay behind and play Junior A unless you just want to stay more local. Say you're a BC kid and still prefer to play in the BCHL or something like that. But I would anticipate that in 95% of the cases, the best players are going to go to the Western Hockey League because they now will have that pathway to college hockey. And so there's going to be a lot of shifting go around and stuff, as far as when this shakes out, and every league's going to be impacted a little bit. And we can kind of talk about that if we want. But certainly I see from, a WHL perspective, they're going to have to modify their current standard player agreement because now, there's nothing in there saying that you have to play with us until you're 20 to get your scholarship. I assume they're going to introduce some rules that if you leave before your eligibility of the WHL expires and go NCAA, you maybe forfeit your education scholarship from the WHL, or it's limited. WHL may try to incent their scholarships a little bit more to try to keep players. All kinds of variables that pop up for sure.
Wayne Kosior joining us from Trailblazer Hockey Advisors. We're talking about the NCAA tomorrow, probably given the green light to allow major junior kids. We got a few minutes left here. The one thing, do you think we're going to see any of these kids, these players that went to the BCHL because, they're going to go play, or the USHL? Do you now see, we're in November here, we're still early, some of them saying, all right, you know what, I'm going to the dub, which for some of these WHL teams might be, talk about a windfall.
Yeah. No, there's examples already of players that have left from the USHL. I think there's been a couple of kids that rejoined the Ontario Hockey League. I think there's one kid in the Western Hockey League. I can't recall his name right now. He's left the USHL and joined a Western Hockey League team. Now, the BCHL is going to be a little bit different because they're now non-sanctioned, so don't fall under Hockey Canada. And there's a rule that if you play in the BCHL past September 30th, you have to reapply to Hockey Canada for reinstatement. Now, our experience with that is Hockey Canada has been very difficult with that, and I don't think anybody. And I kind of anticipate this year the same thing. So I think it would be hard for kids to leave the BCHL this year and join the Western Hockey League just because of that reason. I'm sure there's a lot of WHL teams that would love those kids on their team, but it may be delayed just due to that Hockey Canada rule.
I got a text message in here. Noah Kosior left USHL for the Calgary Hitmen, and he's already committed to Michigan. So the Calgary Hitmen getting a solid hockey player. And it's like, what are we? Is there anything else that we should maybe touch on before tomorrow here, Wayne? The guy that's a kind of that's right in the thick of things.
Well, the only other thing is to talk about maybe the NHL impacts, because there's going to be impacts at the NHL level too. Because today, a CHL player, when he's drafted, the NHL team has 2 years to sign that player, or else that player goes back to free agency, can be drafted again or sign with somebody else. When you're going the college route, they have 4 years. You're basically your 4 years of college eligibility to sign you. So again, they're going to have to modify that. It relates to NHL camps, because today NCAA players can't go to main camps and participate in NHL preseason exhibition games. So that's probably going to change also. So there's going to be almost impacts at almost every single league. So I would anticipate it's going to be a little bit chaotic this first year. But longer term, I just see it's going to be the new norm. The best players will go to the best leagues, and as people funnel up. And, there is tons of good hockey players. And you alluded to it a little bit earlier about all the great players in the Northeast that want to play college. Well, just think about California, Arizona, and Nevada. There's some of the best hockey players in the United States coming out of those areas just because they have money. A lot of cases, their parents or their dad was an NHL player, so he's able to teach his kid. There's unlimited good hockey players today. And so the leagues will still be fantastic. It's just going to be a little bit of a shakeout in the short term. So I tell my clients not to panic too much. It's going to be a little bit chaotic. And if you happen to be a 2004 kid that was committed to go into, North Dakota, there's a chance you could get pushed back or something just because a CHL player may take your spot. I mean, I think that's going to be rare, but there is some cases where college coaches I've talked to have said, they've got an incoming pipeline of recruits that they may have to push some back if they, decide to take a U Sports player or a CHL player. So
then what would that kid do? Let's say he's done his major junior eligibility or like junior eligibility, sorry. So would he maybe go, did they say, go play CIS for a year or senior, just kidding. But yeah, CIS or something.
That could be one scenario. If they could steer him to U Sports. They could say, we're going to decommit you. You can go to another college where there's an opening too. That was my next question. Sorry, that was my next question. How many decommits could we see? Well, every year there's lots. I mean, they're just never publicized. So, you don't really know. But the reality is, and I always joke with players and parents sometimes because they get antsy, they see, somebody that's a comparable player got a D1 commitment. And I said, yeah, everybody always announces their commitment on social media, but I've yet to see anybody announce their decommitment on social media. So the more that happens than we really know about. True. The schools don't publicize it, obviously, and typically players don't either. Okay. Well, hey, let's keep this pipeline open. I appreciate you coming on today. Tomorrow's a big day. We're hoping to have Braxton Whitehead on the show tomorrow to talk about it because he was the kid that kind of started this all, right? And who doesn't want to play hockey in Tempe, Arizona for 4 years after your dub career? You come on. But Wayne, thanks so much, and let's chat again. Thanks for having me, guys. Look forward to chatting again soon. Right on. Wayne Kosior from Trailblazer Hockey Advisors. Huge day. I know, when we talked about you coming on the show here, you didn't really know a lot about this, so didn't get it.
Well, I had heard something was going on there, yeah, for sure. But like he said, it's going to be the new norm. What was the year that the NHL went back to drafting players at 18? That's the Ken Linsman effect, was it not? Wasn't it Kenny Linsman who I think so, yeah, who sued the NHL or because he was 18? He's like, look, I can go fight for my country in overseas. I'm an adult. I can vote, and I can't play professional hockey. So I believe, I'm not sure what the age was. It was 19 or 20, but then they moved that back to 18. Was it 20? It might have been, and I thought it was Ken Linsman, but I'm getting old. My memory's good. It's just not very long. It's short. Ken Linsman effect refers to the challenge Linsman made to the NHL's 20-year-old draft age restriction. Linsman, nicknamed the Rat, was the first choice in the 78 NHL draft, but was 19 years old at the time. He filed a lawsuit against the WHA NHL, but eventually signed with the World Hockey Association's Birmingham Bulls. There you go. Birmingham Bulls. Paint me in Birmingham. Tracy Lawrence style. Yes. Time for a break. It is the all-new Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com. Welcome back to the all-new Sports Cage. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Craig, Adam, and CNC with you. Everything in podcast form if you missed any of it. We had Ryder Varga. We had Frank McCrystal, Eric Francis, Dave Thomas. It's been a busy show. Hockey fans or Edmonton Oilers fans, more importantly, if you haven't heard, Connor McDavid is back in the lineup tonight as the Oilers take on the Las Vegas Golden Knights. That is one of how many games on the slate tonight? I was looking at the old betting sites. We have, Oilers. They're not giving me the odds on that one. See, that's funny, eh? I like that. That's major. Connor McDavid's changing a line, changing on what you want to do. And then when we talked to Eric Francis about the Flames, massive rebuild there, but yeah, exciting. And Montreal, I think Montreal. I don't know if you're what team are you Montreal guy? Fan, yeah, I'm a fan.
But Montreal fans, they weren't supposed to be this bad.
They're bad, right?
But they shouldn't be. Should be in the middle there somewhere.
No, well, yeah, I guess you look at every team thinks that they have high expectations going in, and you look at the Oilers and it's like, oh, okay, well, they're only 2 or 3 wins out of first place, but they're only 2 or 3 wins. They're only 1 win better than Chicago and San Jose. You know what I mean? So there's a fine line with, the Oilers always play 500. Well, they're 5 games below 500 record without McDavid in the lineup, so having him back in certainly helps.
The one team, so I think we talked to Francis on Monday, and I was like, what is the Minnesota Wild all about? Because they're like 8-2-2. So I'm like, make a conscious effort to watch them last night against Los Angeles, and Los Angeles rolls them. And I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't a good test or measuring stick maybe for me to watch. But yeah, the Wild, and then Jets, like the Jets are looking really good so far. So the odds tonight, as just saying, so now Vegas is a 1.5 point favorite, Edmonton's 1.5 point favorite with Vegas in town. Detroit's in Chicago for all your Bedard fans, and then Nashville and Washington. Nashville's another kind of surprise. They've picked it up as of late a bit, but there's only they're last in the Central Division, 4-7.
Like where's Stamkos? That's a big one, right?
Marchessault.
Yeah,
pick these guys up to put some pucks in the net. But yeah, that's not a good look there. One thing we mentioned tonight at the Cooperator Center, U18 AAA hockey, formerly known as U18 AAA midget, the Regina Pat Canadians are in action against the Kinsman Maulers from Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Used to be the Parkland Mauler.
Yeah. 7:45. I told you about Maddox Schultz and how you should get out and try and watch this kid play. He's an exceptional player in the league. Should be a second-year Bantam, U15. I can't even fathom if he was in the Bantam League after tearing it up last year. But he's a special player.
If you're a fan of hockey, just go down and watch. I mean, it's a great league, some great players, and you get to see them in their infancy. When I say infancy, I mean that in a different way. They're just getting to that next level, and it's a special league. There's special players in there, and get down to the Cooperators tonight.
You've been to a lot of Pats games this year. Shootout, exciting last night against Prince Albert. Goes into a shootout. Prince Albert wins. But have you been down to the Orange Top?
I went down to the Orange Top to watch the Pats get a kicking by the Medicine Hat Tigers the other day.
They're a good squad.
Very good squad. They kept it close for a bit, and it just seemed to get away on them a little bit. Gavin McKenna, my goodness, St. Vincent, I think, potted 4 goals. They're a well-coached, disciplined, really good team. But I thought, I don't think the score was that indicative. I thought the Pats, they were kind of there. Mm-hmm. I think they're close to getting there, but
right, they got them playing exciting hockey, and we're still, we're early November, but Brandon's in here Friday to take on the Pats. Brandon's another good team. I don't know how their injury situation is, but they got Roger McQueen. They got some other players there. They're good, well-oiled team. So
and they hung in there, without Tanner Howe for a few games, with the injuries and stuff like that. They've got the captain back, playing well, and hopefully they can, at least keep pace to make a run and get a playoff spot.
SJHL picks back up on Friday because they had the Western All-Star Showcase in Warman. Melville and Estevan was the worth the drive game of the week for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. Benny Walchuk called that one. Melville, Estevan, also Yorkton Battlefords, Flin Flon hosts Melfort, Notre Dame's in Larange. On Friday. SJHL. When's the last time you watched an SJHL game?
It's been a while. Yeah, don't embarrass me. It's been a while.
Good hockey, though.
It's really good hockey.
Especially now. It seems like every hockey. I watch on, obviously, a lot of Bantam AA, the boy playing. It is so much better, Craig, than when we were younger.
Yeah, way much better. How much time? I got a quick story.
Yeah.
So, SHL All-Star game would have been like probably 1987. I did not play in it. But, you know, it was just a big party for the guys, right? Like they go, I think it was in Humboldt at the time, or it wasn't Melfort. They weren't in the league. Rod Brindamore, he's only 17. Yeah. But all the 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds are all going out partying, and they're trying to get Brindamore to go out, and he's doing like handstand push-ups in the hallway, you know, because he works out. Rod the Bod, he's like, and they kept bugging him to come out, and finally he looked at this 20-year-old. He'll remain nameless, but basically said, and I have witnesses to this, I'm going to be in the NHL in 4 years. Where are you going to be? And what do you say to that? As a 17-year-old saying this to a 20-year-old, and he knew it. Like I'm not going out, I'm not partying, I'm not drinking, I'm here to play hockey, and he was in the NHL in the next 4 years.
It's when we were down in Notre Dame this spring doing the show, they talked about just the stories about Brindamore and how he was workout-aholic. Like he just worked out and worked so much harder than everyone, and you could kind of see where he was destined to go. Yeah, that's another really cool story. The one thing I'm out there, and I know we're getting up against the clock here before Dave comes in the baseball report, is I'm wondering if anyone's going to have a watch party for the Rams-Huskies game. If anyone knows about anything, text it in. I'm back tomorrow, 936-6262, because that's if you're not making the trek up the 11 to watch it at Griffith Stadium, it'd be nice to see where the party's at. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of alumni.
On both sides of the fence, yep, for sure.
Thanks so much for coming in today, buddy.
It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it. Appreciate the invite.
Nice studio.
Beautiful studio. I like the Terrier jersey over there. It's pretty cool, you know, so it's all good.
You'll be back. Craig Adam. I'm Barney Shynkaruk, the C's. I'm back tomorrow. We'll be with Chris Harris, another former global guy. Chris Harris is going to join us tomorrow. It's the all-new Sports Cage. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you in about 21 hours.
It's time to go around the horn for Shorty Generators. Keep the power in your hands with an automatic standby generator from Shorty Generators, the standby generator experts. With the Los Angeles Dodgers' 5-game World Series win over the New York Yankees, the postseason in Major League Baseball has started. For the Dodgers, the first order of business was getting their superstar right. Shohei Ohtani had arthroscopic surgery yesterday to repair a labrum tear in his left shoulder. Ohtani suffered the injury in Game 2 of the World Series on October the 26th. Now, Ohtani injured his non-throwing shoulder while sliding into second base on a stolen base attempt, which resulted in a shoulder dislocation. Amazingly, he returned to play the next 3 games, helping the Dodgers beat the Yankees in 5 games to win that championship. The Dodgers say the Japanese two-way player is expected to be ready for spring training in February. Next up for MLB teams will be the signing of prospective free agents. Some of the intriguing pending free agents, not named Juan Soto, Corbin Burns, or Willy Adames, include outfielder Teoscar Hernandez. The former Blue Jay just won the World Series with LA and is in the final year of his contract, hit 33 homers. A career best. Also from that Dodger championship team, Jack Flaherty. He struck out 194 batters in 162 innings in a 2024 season that he split between Detroit and L.A. And speaking of pitchers, how about this one? Former Jay Yusei Kikuchi is coming off a career year that started in Toronto and ended in Houston. We'll see where the Southpaw ends up. Lastly, season and awards are starting to be handed out, starting with the naming of Gold Glove recipients. Winners include Toronto Blue Jay center fielder Dalton Varsho, who won his first Gold Glove, and former Jay Matt Chapman, who plays third base now for San Francisco. And that's Around the Horn for Shorty Generators. Keep the power in your hands with an automatic standby generator from Shorty Generators, the standby generator experts.